Hello and welcome to Heartsman 4 Kaiserreich mods. I'm back as Belgium in the new update. Um, I know I've already done a playthrough as Belgium, but I want to try it in this new update. I want to see if the Belgian Revolution is still happening in this update. I've also noticed some other changes in the states map mode. Like, this is a new province, this is a new province. Of course, this is now smaller, as you can see. We now control these territories, and before Germany had them. We also now control Frans Vlaanderen. We do not control Flandre Roman, which has Lille in it, but it is a province on its own, so we, in a war with France, we can take it. Yeah, so this greatly improves the different possibilities of having a greater Belgium. Improve our civilian factories, and let's start the game. Now, of course, Germany is gonna put all of its troops. I'm not gonna read all of these. It's just saying that we are split up in a federation between Flanders and Wallonia. Yeah, I'm kinda wondering why did there's nothing we can do. I'm gonna do this. I also am wondering why they did this. I think this is the Albert Canal. I am wondering why they did this instead of having the Schelde River, because the Schelde River is actually bigger than the canal. So I don't quite know why they did this. It would have been better if they did the Schelde. Yeah. Is that? I don't know. That was something about Mussolini, I think. Let's forget this. There's a lot of new events, which I probably should have read that last event because that was new. But as you can see, Italy is now split up into 5 countries. I don't know. I liked the previous version where Italy was just split into 2. But yeah, I am not in control of their updates and stuff like that. Other changes that I've noticed is over here. I think this is now one big country, and Black Monday has hit our country. What else is new? I think that is. Oh yeah, maybe over here. Let's. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not I'm not good in economics, so I don't know what's best for a bank to be nationalized or the people to be able to get their money. I don't know. Strike of the potato farmers. Angered by the government response to the collapse of the Binnenkredietkas, thousands of farmers have driven their tractors to Brussels to protest against their mistreatment. The Catholic Party has opened a debate in Parliament, pleading the king to allow them to allocate funds to keep the Boerenbond from collapsing and devastating Flanders-Wallonia's agricultural sector. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Okay. This is an important event. Last time I played this too quick or offline. I mean, not recording, and I clicked too fast, and I clicked here on this, which is not the option we want. So, the 17th of February, which marks the day that Adalbert I was crowned as King of Belgium and took control of the country, has been annually marked with celebrations in the capital. Military parades and fanfares announced the start of the celebrations, and at 12 o'clock Adalbert mounted the balcony of the palace, watching over the veranda. As he addressed the population and celebrated another peaceful year, a loud bang resounded against the stone walls of the palace. In the midst of the crowd, a group of rebels had fired a gun in the direction of the king. They shouted, "Vive la Révolution!" and "Weg met..." it's Dutch. "Weg met de mof." I thought it was German for a bit. Dozens of men and women placed at tactical locations in the crowd by the combined resistance started rallying the people and prepared to storm the palace. Police quickly mobilized and formed a protective circle around the palace gates. And though the crowd dispersed into the surrounding streets, revolt quickly became too large for the local police force to handle. We should wait for them to calm down, which is not gonna happen, by the way. The riots continue. Trapped in the palace but safe from the rioters outside, the king decided not to resort to the use of heavy weaponry and has instead sought to deal with the protesters solely by using local police battalions. However, the riot has proven not to be so easily suppressed and has started to spread throughout the entire city. Student organizations in the cities of Leuven, Ghent and even Brussels itself had been preparing their own protest march and quickly organized themselves, chanting the Brabantsonne and the Vlaamse Leeuw, waving banners and protesting through the streets. The protests have quickly become nearly insurmountable for the police. It's only becoming worse. Of course, that was the plan all along. Waloos in Charleroi and Mons rise up. Massive strikes and protests are also plaguing Wallonia, where the large industrial cities of Charleroi and Mons have started organizing themselves into a full-scale rebellion. Supported by the syndicalist resistance and raids of the police headquarters in Mons, the revolters have reorganized themselves outside of the city, biding their time. Will this never end? Downfall instability. -12, wow. Okay. Jabal Shamar, Société Générale de la Belgique splits up. The largest corporation of Flanders, Wallonia, and created by the Dutch in 1815, the Société Générale has been the driving power behind much of the rapid industrialization and colonial expansion in the 19th century. After the loss of Congo and the start of the German occupation, its power fell precipitously, but even today they are still the most important economic institution of our nation, dominating nearly 40% of the industrial sector. To weather the storm caused by Black Monday, several members of the Liberal Party are suggesting that we hive off the unprofitable branches and salvage what we can. The General Bank of the General Bank in Dutch would be sold off as a separate subsidy of the main organization and would handle the bank's affairs independent of interference by the SGB. Yeah, an independent bank is a good move. The European Central Bank is also an independent bank. They've managed to control the crisis 2008. Okay. So, Papal Conclave, are they electing a new pope, or is this a new pope already? I don't know. Okay, assemble the Industrial Committee. Mass desertion, yes, as the rebellion grows by the day, many soldiers of the former Belgian army have deserted and joined forces with the rebellion. Well armed, they may pose a significant threat to our ability to suppress the revolt. Ask for German reinforcements. The banking committee, let's pass this. Yeah, look at all these negative, how do they call it? National spirits. Well, this is a positive one, but all the rest is negative. Oh, this is a positive one as well. Yeah, all these things are negative currently. But the German sympathizers will over time lose support. Yeah, foundation of the Geuzengroup. Due to rising tensions in the industrial city of Antwerpen, a A new resistance movement has been detected by our intelligence services. They are called the Geuzengroup and seem to have gathered a lot of support around the harbor area, rallying the populace behind their cause. They seem to work mostly underground, though, and as such there seems to be no more intel about either their members or their leader. Keep a close eye on them. In real life, this was a resistance group during the Second World War against the Nazis. In Antwerp, yes, and they were called the Geuzengroup as well. Now, in this alternate history, it's founded much earlier. Against the Germans, of course. Support for independence grows. As the different factions keep growing, there will soon be a choice that might decide the future of our country. For the moment, there is little contact between the Walloon rebels and the Flemish. It might be in our best interest to keep the situation separated until we can crack down on the rebellion. No, we can't spare the resources at the moment. I'm doing everything to ruin this failed state and to bring about a new country. Oh, new war. Loss of the 20th train convoy. After the capture of a large terrorist cell trying to breach the von Bissing Kaserne in Mechelen, the commander has decided to transport the prisoners to a safer location closer to the main bulk of the army. 276 prisoners were put on a train convoy called the 20th Train Convoy. Accompanied by a convoy of 15 soldiers and their officer, they left for Leuven. However, between Boortmeerbeek and Haagt, the train was stopped by 3 young men who, under fire from German forces, opened the prison train and allowed 168 of the prisoners to escape before the Germans regained control of the train. This is also a very interesting event, because in real life, in real history, the 20th Train Convoy was during the Second World War indeed doing this track between Mechelen and where is it, Leuven? Yeah. But instead of prisoners, here it's the rebels, they were transporting Jews and political prisoners. And actually it is one of the few train convoys that were stopped in Western Europe. Most of them were in Eastern Europe, in Poland, that rebel or partisans and resistance members raided the convoys to save Jews and political prisoners who were going to Germany or the concentration camps in Poland. Mayday! So, well, I'm gonna install a curfew in Liège, Namur and Charleroi, because this is the syndicalists who celebrate their fight for the 8-hour workday as described by the Second International in 1889. Despite the rebellion raging on throughout Belgium, many syndicalists see this day as sacred, and guerrilla strikes will be less fierce today. This could be our opportunity to organize a counter-attack. So the syndicalists mainly are in the south of the country, in Wallonia, and they want to go with France, because France is already a syndicalist nation. Therefore it would make sense to okay, that's interesting, to combine themselves with this already existing strong syndicalist nation. But in the north, in Flanders, they want independence, Flemish independence, and from Belgium. Or even some parties wanted to combine with the Netherlands, but that's not what we want. We want an independent Belgium. I'm gonna go to invest in the Ceylon Industrial, because get a lot of things from this, and here you don't get a lot of good things. You mainly get, well, reduced time penalties for research, but I like the resources and the factories more. But what we are gonna do is actually combine the two efforts, so the Wallonian Retachment, I think, Rattachement, and the Flemish independence movement, we combine them into the Belgian independence movement to restore Belgium. I think there is a bug in this version that the obvious choice to to retreat from Brussels doesn't actually fire the Belgian or the Belgian independence. So you need to choose to dig in and fight against the rebels. Okay. Oh, now another existing resistance movement from World War II, but this time in this time period. While our forces were engaged in Wallonia, a devastating terrorist attack was launched on the electrical train network by the infamous Groupe G. They are a resistance movement composed almost entirely of students from the ULB, Université Libre de Bruxelles, Free University of Brussels. Encouraged by the protests at the universities of Ghent and Leuven, a group of engineering students from the ULB prepared a nationwide attack on the railroad system. This was the first time an attack occurred in both Flanders and Wallonia by the same group. We will have to stay wary of further cooperation between the two regions. Track down these students! Yeah, so now their efforts are combined. Armée secrète, a geheim leger. So this is actually also something from the Second World War. Reports have reached us that the deserting forces are gathering in the villages around Poperinge. They seem to rally as close as possible to the French border, making large-scale troop movements by us difficult. Charlie Classé, leader of this movement, has started to expand the group very fast, exceeding our expectations. They are, however, in contrast to the other groups, a secret army with a chain of command and armed to the teeth. It will not be easy to crack them down, and we will have to keep a close eye on them. Station a small brigade in the city of Ypres to keep them in check. Status of the Flemish resistance. While we were trying to counter the Walloon syndicalists and have to withdraw some of our forces out of Flanders, the Flemish decided to work more underground and have been recruiting members into their movement. Priests have tried to convince their parochians to take up arms and liberate the nation, while rebels in the cities have diffused illegal newspapers and propaganda to enlist as many as possible. The recruited rebels, guided by experienced veterans from both the army and veterans from the Weltkrieg, also performed small coordinated raids against German transports and have been able to acquire quite the armory. It's not yet clear what they are up to, but it would be wise to reinforce our control over Flanders, risking loss of control elsewhere. Fall back into Flemish Brabant. So it's those two provinces are Flemish Brabant. Vlaams Brabant. Construction 1, so let's go for excavation 1. Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking really good. Of course, we have low manpower. We cannot do anything about that until we are independent. We do have a small fleet. And let's pick Georges Timmermans, because the other one is a German and I don't like Germans. No, I do like Germans, but not in the army. 11th of July. The 11th of July 1302 will always be remembered as the great victory over the French army at the Gulden Sporenslag. On this day an inferior Flemish army defeated the French knights. This victory marked an important point in the creation of the independent Flemish movement and has been immortalized in the roman by The Leeuw van Vlaanderen by Hendrik Conscience. With the temporary retreat of the German forces, the Flemish resistance memorizes this day and has proclaimed the 11th of July a national holiday. So in real life, this is also a very big part of the Flemish nationalist movement, but the book referenced here, The Leeuw van Vlaanderen by Hendrik Conscience, was actually meant to be a Belgian nationalist book, because at the time people in Belgium were looking for their own distinct culture, because many spoke French and they wanted to distinguish them from France, because, well, France was also French and we are also French, but we are not French. So we need to have something to distinguish us from France, and this was the thing. The presence of a Flemish culture was something that would distinguish the Belgian people from the French people. So Vlaanderen de Leeuw. Vlaanderen de Leeuw. That is a quote from a movie, I think. Or the name of a movie. I don't know. Walloons hear of Flemish victories. After the victories of the Flemish resistance over the German forces, the Walloons now have the opportunity to decide whether or not to work together with the Flemish for a unified Belgium or to seek affiliation with the Commune of France. The syndicalists are inclined towards joining the Commune and helping spread the socialist revolution. On the other hand, the royalists would prefer to work together with the Flemish to unify the country and reinstate the king, King Albert, that is. After days of frenzied discussion, and the doors of the headquarters finally open, and a decision is announced. We shall approach our Flemish brethren and try to rebuild Belgium. Yeah. Gonna ask King Albert to come back to Belgium. Flanders receives a Walloon deal. After the proposal to the German government failed, the Flemish have now received a deal from the Walloon movement. They ask the Flemish to work together with them to ensure independence for all of Belgium and to reinstate the king. Eendracht maakt macht. L'union fait la force. Unity is strength. Now, it's our national motto, but as I've learned, it's also the motto of New York, apparently. New York has the same motto. And it was the motto, I think, of Transvaal and or Oranje Vrijstaat, one of the two. Yeah, so it's actually a quite common motto. Okay, so Poland has a new king, and it is a Habsburg king. Interesting. Now let's follow the Callopin doctrine, which is something that existed in real life as well. I think it was something, a collaboration doctrine, or economic doctrine in collaboration terms. This is not, looks a lot like the, who is he actually? Von Hohenzollern. It does not say. Is he the son of the German emperor? Because he looks a lot like Wilhelm III. Mechanical computing is complete, so let's go for radio. Hainaut attacks. After the Flemish and Walloons made their pact to unify Belgium, they launched an assault on the German administration office in Mons and secured the governor and his family. They are now held hostage, and the rebels are demanding the withdrawal of German forces from Hainaut. So Hainaut is these two provinces, I think. Yeah. We have surrounded the building and are ready to move in if necessary. The chances of extracting the governor successfully are slim, but we could re-secure the building to reinforce it against further attacks and to tighten our grip on the province. Gets events. Rebels push into Antwerp. We shall have to give in. The government is being destroyed from the inside in, I think, because these decisions are meant to destroy this Flemish Wallonian. What is actually the rebels push into Antwerp. Flanders Wallonia is the official name, but it's does not really say what kind of, it's probably a confederation or something like that. With renewed forces and help from Wallonia, the Flemish resistance has successfully begun Pushing into Antwerp, fighting in the streets immediately ensued, and for 3 days there appeared to be no clear winner. The strategic situation changed when a tank depot fell to Flemish forces and the Germans retreated to the east side of the city. Simultaneously, a push was orchestrated towards Boom and Dendermonde, ensuring the liberation of most of Antwerp province. Well, Dendermonde is actually in East Flanders. I think Boom is... yeah. All these German wars... Republic of China. Oh. German forces pushed back into Brussels. After our defeat at Mons and in return for the governor, we have fallen back into Brussels, where we have dug ourselves in. Any Walloon resistance will have to deal with our fortified position and prepared troops. Watch out, those Walloons are everywhere. I think that's a reference to the tirailleurs. The Walloons have set up a perimeter around Brussels, but appear not to be planning to immediately attack. They may be trying to secure Flanders first before moving against our troops' positions in the city. We must be cautious. Sorry. Yeah, the tirailleurs were supposedly people, civilians with guns who shot at, like snipers, shot at German troops. And as a response, in the First World War, and as a response, the Germans took heavy reprisal actions on the Flemish and Walloon people, like they destroyed the library of Leuven, for the University of Leuven, or burned down whole cities and towns. Flemish forces approached the capital. So here is the event that is bugged. If we click this, which is gonna reinstate the Belgium, I think, nothing happens. So with their victories in Antwerp and the retreat of German forces out of Limburg, Limburg is this problem. We are left with only Brussels and Wallonia. As the movement keeps winning, they gather more support, and by now they heavily outnumber us. The only forces we have left are the divisions located in Brussels and 2 in Wallonia. We will have to make an important decision which will decide the fate of the country. Will we retreat into Germany, thus abandoning Belgium, or will we dig in and try to hold out as long as we can, hoping that Germany may recover quickly enough to support us? Dig in, boys, it's gonna be a tough fight. Now, this is not the logical way, but yeah, this is actually the thing that we need to do. With our troops firmly dug in and awaiting the rebel attack, news has reached us of a German division stationed in Deutsch Wallonia being repositioned to Brussels to reinforce us and help ward off the Walloon attack. Unfortunately, however, the rebels intercepted the message and have decided to immediately launch their operations. The troops surrounding Brussels moved in under artillery support, and the tanks captured in Antwerp swiftly breached our first line of defense. This was followed up by intense fighting in the metropolitan area of Brussels, with especially fierce conflict engulfing Schaerbeek and Dilbeek. Here, the soldiers fought house by house, leading to heavy casualties on both sides. After 8 hours of heavy fighting, our garrison is no longer able to hold them off, and the rebel army has begun marching on the palace. Now, I'm gonna save here, because this is unknown territory for me now. I'm gonna surrender to the rebels and see what happens. Ah, okay. Last stand of Flanders Wallonia. Pushed back out of Brussels, the remaining army has fallen back to the southern city of Namur. Here, reinforcements from the German Empire have recently arrived, and using them we have been able to set up an adequate defense. We do, however, have a limited amount of supplies left after our defeat at Brussels, and will most likely have to surrender within 3 months if we do not launch a counter-offensive with what little we have. Our situation is hopeless, we have to surrender. And now, let's hope this actually works. Yes, it has worked. Perfect. On September the 13th, 1936 at 2 11:37 p.m. in the royal palace, the former King Albert signed the formal ceasefire treaties, resulting in his immediate abdication, the withdrawal of all German forces from his former territory, and a truce between the reborn nation of Belgium and the German Empire. Hundreds of thousands of men, women and children have come out into the streets waving the Belgian flag, chanting the Brabant song and celebrating the nation's regained independence. It truly is a great day for Belgium. Lang leve België, vive la Belgique, long live Belgium. We are now Belgium again, with a parliament. Okay. And we have now a communist, I believe, in our midst, and a extreme or an paternal autocrat. Yeah, this is a communist. This is who was he again? Was I think Ferdinando or something? Yeah, these two were. This was a Christian socialist. I'm gonna leave it here for this episode. Going on for about 30 minutes, and we have achieved our goal of reinstating Belgium. So I see you in the next episode. Bye.